Good morning, everyone. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Cheeto. Good morning.
Oh, fantastic. So, a pleasant morning to everyone. It's lovely to have so many of you teachers joining us. Welcome to the Cambridge Prosper series. Well, we'll be explaining how to implement the CBC, which is the competence-based curriculum, with the Cambridge Prosper. So this is going to be a practical workshop, which is really going to equip you with everything you need to be able to deliver in your classroom everything that is required of CBC. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about myself. My name is Chido Chirimuta. I work in Zimbabwe and South Africa, and I've had the privilege of also working with teachers in Zambia. So I'm sure, and I saw some of the names, there are some familiar faces. It's lovely to see you all. So I have been in education for over 15 years. My academic background is in education, studied psychology, studied business administration as well. In my career, I started off as a lecturer and a teacher training officer, training teachers. So I've been in education in so many different ways. So I started off with training teachers and training primary school and high school teachers. Then from there, I then moved into high school teaching, where I teach English language and literature. I've had the opportunities to work in the exam departments. I've also been a part of. I've been a head of department. I've marked Cambridge exams. I've taught students who have been top in the country. And then in my current role as a professional development manager, I help to organize and facilitate workshop for teachers. And I'm involved in teacher training, part of that being the running of the Cambridge Certificate and Diploma in Teaching and Learning. So I trust that today, together, we are going to just delve into all the details. And we really want to make this workshop interactive. So it would be great for people to put a thumbs up, just some kind of anything, just so I can see how everyone is doing and that everyone is okay. So throughout this workshop, you'll be able to ask questions. It's all about equipping you and answering any of your questions. So that's me for now. Great. I'm seeing some hands up. Welcome, Vilma. Lovely to have you here. Anyone else here who can put a hands up? It's lovely to see you all and to hear you all. Thank you, Matinta. Lovely to get a high five and a hands up. It's good to know that I'm not alone, that there are other people on the other end. So for today, these are some of our workshop outcomes. So by the end of this workshop, you will be able to explain the difference between OBE and CBC. So when I say OBE and when I say CBC, these are the acronyms we use, but OBE stands for the outcomes-based education. So this is what we would usually call the older way, of teaching. And today we're going to be explaining why we have moved to CBC, which is the competency-based curriculum. So what is it and why did we move there? Because that's an important foundation. We need to know what we're doing. And once we know what we're doing, there'll be a higher likelihood of us actually doing it. Then we'll be speaking about identifying and integrating the 18 cross-cutting themes. Then we'll learn how to apply the strategies that develop the 4 Cs. Then we'll learn how to design competency-based assessments. Then we'll show you how Cambridge has designed the Cambridge Prosper series, which will help you to effectively implement all these things. So this will really support you. This will really help you to, achieve everything we want to achieve. So OBE and CBC, that's where the old, we're moving on to the new. So as I am going to be sharing all this workshop information, you are more than welcome to pop any questions in the chat section. You also will be raising hands if you want to ask any questions. The other thing is we're going to be doing some activities where I'll be showing you how some of these active learning and all these things we're speaking about. And we're going to really want to make this practical. We want to talk about some of the challenges you face, and then we want to be speaking about how these challenges can be mitigated, can be helped. And we want to learn what you are doing. So all these wonderful teachers who are joining us on the workshops, I really want to encourage you to be sharing your experiences and to telling us how you have managed to go from OBE and CBC to CBC. And we're going to really be, tag teaming. We're all in this, and we'll be helping each other to learn. I'll be the facilitator, but all of you are, more than welcome to be sharing your experience as well. So let's dive straight into it. So our program is going to be covering these main sections. So every single session should be roughly about 20 minutes long. But this is just a guide to help us, just get through. Some sections might take longer, some might be a bit shorter. So as I mentioned, we want to understand what is CBC, this competency-based curriculum. What are the cross-cutting themes? How do we go about teaching these competencies? What are these competencies? Then how do we assess these competencies? Because we need to know if we're achieving that which we're setting out to do. We need to have a target. So that's going to be an important aspect. Then we'll look at the Cambridge Prosper resources. And I'll really show you how they are designed for the Zambian curriculum, how they are designed. They have the themes integrated. They have all these approaches integrated. So it's really going to be your support that, you can go into the classroom and have these resources which really are designed to support you. Then we'll hopefully have time to have a look at an example of these resources. And then we'll have our conclusion, and then we'll be able to wrap up. So let's get started with the information. So understanding competency-based curriculum. From OBE to CBC at primary level. Now, I would love to get a feeling, even before we get into the information, when you hear OBE, but especially when you hear CBC, how would you rate your understanding of what CBC is? So on a scale from 1 to 5, so maybe in the chat section, how would you rate your understanding of CBC? That would be great in the chat section. If we can have some figures, some numbers of how do we rate our understanding. So from the beginning, let's see, where are we? What do we feel? Are we a 0? Are we a 1? Are we a 2? Are we a 3? 5 out of 5 being you feel like you've got this. So in the chat section, if you don't mind, it would be great to share. If you had to rate 10 out of 10, so we've got a Happy who believes 10 out of 10. So Happy, I'm going to be, coming to you to share some of your wonderful examples. Any other scores? How would we rate our understanding, from the onset? So I am checking your comments. So as I'm speaking, really feel free to be answering questions there. Anyone else? We've got 10 out of 10 in the chat section. So I'm trusting that, I'm pretty sure that we have a variety, and so whether you are a 1 or whether you are a 10, this is the right place, because we really are going to be getting into, all the different information. So thank you, Rasford. We've got an 8 out of 10. We've got Sangeeta 3. We've got 6s. We've got 2. We've got 10s. Other 2s. Thank you so much for that feedback. So it's great to know where everyone is, but by the end of this, we want to have clarity. Now, when I have a look at this idea of moving from OBE to CBC. I really think, as a teacher, many of us join this profession to help people. I am a teacher. I love teaching. And we join this profession to help people. And, when we really look at what this change is, we're really going to realize that this thinking of this change is going to help us to do that which we've always desired, which is to really help people in the real world, to people to leave our classrooms and really be able to make a difference and to make an impact. And I'll tell you why I believe that. So the old way that most of us were taught, and the way we were taught, we aren't saying it's wrong, but we are acknowledging that there's been so much research that's gone into education. The way we teach has changed. The children has changed. The world has changed. There are always so many conversations about how are we equipping the students we have now for this tomorrow that we don't even know what it's going to look like because of AI and the way that information is evolving. And we thank God for these people who spend time researching because they have given us something to start with as we move from the world we used to live in to the world that we want to live in. And all of this thinking, sometimes it seems very too advanced for primary school, for primary level. But in today, as we're going to be discussing the concepts, we really want to just always remember that there will always be a way to adapt whatever we want to teach to be appropriate for our level, to be appropriate for our resources that we have at our schools, to be appropriate for the number of learners in our class. So as we go through all these things, if you're feeling intimidated or overwhelmed, we're going to be discussing things and we're going to together see how we can really adapt this to our individual settings. So what is the old way? It's focusing on what learners know. Okay, so some of you are thinking, what's wrong with that? So nothing wrong with that. But now the world we live in, the skills they need to have, more is required. When we are saying what the learners know, we find that a lot of the times it's all about rules. How do you do this? How do you do that? It's all about memorizing. Know this fact, know that fact. So I want to challenge you. If education is only about what a learner knows, with AI coming into the equation, where someone can access knowledge in 3 seconds, where does that place our students? Are they marketable just on what they know? So we really do have to be thinking about the world we are in, the world our students are going to. So at a point in time, this would have been impressive. This would have been allowed you to do all sorts. And many of us are products of this. In this way of teaching, the outcomes based education, it's all about covering content. So this is my textbook. I have to finish, start from this chapter, end on this chapter. And you'll hear the word chalk and talk, which is on my board. I write whatever I need to write. The kids are copying. The kids are looking at me. I'm talking. So it's the chalk and talk. So the teacher is the fountain of knowledge. The teacher is the one who knows everything. And the listener's responsibility, the listener's role is just to listen. And in terms of the way we assess, the way we assess in OBE is test focus on memory. So as a result, learners could just memorize exams and pass. Throughout time, we've heard of circumstances where students, maybe from certain schools or from certain places, they will get amazing grades in exams. They've learned how to memorize. But when they get to maybe a more challenging level or a level where they actually have to think and where they have to apply, we see these students having a very low success rate in universities. And no teacher would want that, to just equip our students to pass exams. We want to raise a whole student who's able to excel in an unknown world where we can't give them the answers, but where they have the ability to meet whatever demands are placed on them in any world. So that's where the new way comes in. Competency based curriculum. So, what does that mean? It means you are actually shifting your focus onto what can the learner do. We're moving from the knowledge being ability to memorize to ability to apply these skills is the doing. These skills we are imparting aren't just, in a vacuum, but they are also values, and they are not attitudes, and they are, beliefs and ideas. They are equally important as we are trying to develop the whole learner. Learners actively participate. So when we hear this word actively participate, too often our definition is quite narrow, where we think activities, and that is part of it, no doubt. It's the moving the kids around, which is scary for some of us with our huge classes, with our limited classroom space. But will speak about how to go about that. But there's the other idea of active learning, which is actively involved in the construction of the knowledge. So as opposed to just being spoon fed, you are leading them to figure out what's going on. And then the assessment, in terms of how we assess them, we are wanting to check for competencies. The level of understanding will reflect in the competency, in the ability to apply. So this is what we are talking about. And we are really going to be focusing on, how do we do this? And, it's fantastic. With this Prosper series, you have the resources which really do hold your hand. They do all the thinking for you. So this is going to be an amazing series. So let's just start by having some discussions and having some feedback from you. So at the moment, where do you think your teaching mainly lies? If you had to assess yourself predominantly, do you believe you've moved over to CBC, or are you still in the old way? So would anyone like to give us feedback currently? Where is your teaching, and why do you think that? So why do you think? So if you think you're still in the old way, give us an example of why you think that. If you think you're now in the new way, CBC, why do you think that? So anyone like to answer that question?
Just in case anybody would like to speak up, I think just put up your hand or raise your
Mhm.
hand, or pop it in the chat, and I will then have to unmute you. Or Chido, I think you can also do that.
Okay, great. Would anyone like to give an example? So while you are thinking, let me give you an example of a lesson which would be OBE compared to CBC. So let's say we are teaching fractions. So this is a numeracy, this is a maths lesson, and you're teaching fractions. So, before I give you my example, just think, what could be a way of teaching fractions, which is OBE and which is CBC. So I'll just give you a bit of time to think before I give you my example. So teaching fractions. So one example of teaching fractions in the OBE, the old way, as stated on our screen, is you give the learners a set of rules. You do this, you do that, you do this. The learners say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, three bags full, ma'am. They are just agreeing with you, they're listening, they write the rules, they memorize the rules. A lot of your lesson is spent memorizing the rules, and you're done. So that will offer, a certain level of success. It's a system that's been working. But like I said, the world we are moving into and what is required of us, in our curriculum framework is, as you are teaching your learners how to, how fractions work, maybe you can give them, let's say, an orange. You cut it into different pieces. Then you get them to share amongst one another. And then in that process, you are now asking, what have we just done? How many oranges did we have? Now we have, now you're having that conversation where they are actively learning what fractions are. And they're part of understanding the idea of I had one, but I was able to divide it. But if I bring the pieces back together, I still have one. But the whole, the one. So that is where we are wanting to go to. As one example, so we have a hand that is up. So we'll try to unmute you. Is it Elias? Let's see if you can be unmuted. Ingrid, are we able to unmute Elias? I think I can't from my end.
I have enabled it. So Elias, you will just need to unmute from your side now.
Thank you. Elias, we cannot hear anything. Okay, Elias, unfortunately, we cannot hear anything. Do you want to try it once more before I move on? But we would love to hear your response. Elias, thank you so much for volunteering to offer your suggestion. But unfortunately, we cannot hear you. So I will just have to carry on. What you can do is you can just maybe type your example in the chat section. That would also be really great. Okay, so now let us now move on. So what we have is this is an example of what I've just been talking about, which is we want our learners to actually be able to be actively involved. So this is a question I'm going to pose to you, and I'll just introduce this activity, which is called Think, Pair, Share. As we're moving from the idea of the teacher doing all the talking and the learners listening, one of the activities is this activity, the Think, Pair, Share, which is you give the learners a time to think about a question. In pairs, they share together, and then they share their answer as a group. So it's a good way to make sure that every single learner in the classroom is participating. So this is what I think pair share activity looks like, which we will try to do. I know the microphones aren't working, so we'll see if we can get a one or two responses. If not, I'll just have to ask you to type in the chat. So here's an idea of what we call a think, pair, share activity. So you would pose a class to the learners. So in this case, I would say to you, the teachers, think of one lesson you have taught recently. And then think, what is more, was it more OBE or was it CBC? Why? How could you make it more CBC? Then they would share it as a group. So as we are, joining as individuals, I'll just give you a few seconds to try to think of this so you could answer this. So just think of a lesson that you taught recently, and then just decide, was it more OBE or was it more CBC? Similar to the last question I asked, but let's see in case anyone else is able to unmute and share. If not, that's fine, but let's just try just so I know if we can unmute. So think of a lesson you taught recently. Was it more OBE or CBC? Why? And how would you make it more CBC? So when you have an answer, let's just try one more time to see if we can get the chance to hear other voices in our workshop today. So maybe 1 minute, and then when you have an answer, you can put your hand up, and then we'll unmute you. And everyone else, you can just type notes in the chat, and we'll be able to read a few examples.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. So I think it has given me an option on response. So I just decided it. Yeah, so I think of a lesson that I taught recently.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's about non-living things. Though I teach the babies, so mostly for them hands-on. So I would fall mostly on the CBC to say it was competent there, because how I taught it was that they had to learn to say non-living things, things that cannot breathe, they cannot eat, and they cannot move. But apart from that, I was able to take them outside to find maybe a stone, which is not a living thing, but then they were able to explore, try to give it food to see if the stone can eat or if it can move on its own. So I feel like it was more comfortable then because they were able to do the experiment, and so they're able to understand what they did and they investigated and they did activities
Thank you so much for that feedback. So it's great to hear that, you are, teaching using an approach which is, a CBC approach. Even what I liked about that example was this is with the little ones. So even with the little ones, we're able to implement this. So thank you so much for sharing that example. So this is something that people all over, in Zambia, people are doing. So if you have never done this, this is something that you can do, and we're going to keep encouraging one another so that you start to feel more comfortable and confident to teach in a manner that meets the curriculum framework, which is moving to the competency-based curriculum. So what has changed? So there is now a focus from content to skills. So once again, what this means is we are ensuring that the learners do more than just memorize, and they actually have the practical skills and competencies that they're supposed to have. What this change is going to necessitate or require of us is that we are now going to need to have this continuous assessment where it is ongoing, and emphasizing learning progress rather than one-time exam. So you're thinking about how are you going to be able to do this continuous assessment for all those learners in your class, and we are going to be exploring that, in our time together. And the one major, concept that, as you think about what is one of the major requirements is it's you're applying active learning. So just like many of us have been in workshops that have spoken about active learning, now come to a situation where we must apply it in our own teaching. So our knowledge of what active learning is, it must now translate to even the way we teach, the way we plan our lessons, that they should be active learning. So why I am here, please just make sure your microphones are muted. Thank you very much. So one of the questions, we must answer is, why did Zambia move to CBC? And, as I mentioned in the beginning, our heart, as teachers, is to really help to shape our learners and to leave them, better, than when they came into our classroom. But when we really think about our role as teachers, what a privilege we have. We are not only shaping individuals, but we are really like the big, a big part of shaping our nation. So learners were leaving schools without the practical skills for work. And I'm sure you hear all these conversations where people are complaining, oh, those graduates, they can't even do this. Oh, those graduates, they can't even do that. So this is something that people have just been discussing and talking, in their little groups. But now there is a solution, which is to move to the competency-based curriculum. So learners will leave with practical skills, and these are the 21st century competencies. And this will equip them for the world we don't even know what it's going to look like. CBC will also align with regional and international standards. As teachers, you are going to be able to really help to, be a big part of the development of Zambia. With all the amazing, wonderful teachers, all the amazing, wonderful, and wonderful learners, there's absolutely nothing that stops Zambia from, being, up there amongst the best. And education is one of the most important aspects of any country's development. And CBC is going to help Zambia to achieve all of its goals. This also supports Vision 2030 and the national development, and it's responding to the individual needs which are in society. So I will just emphasize the last part. CBC prepares learners for real life, not just exams. For many of us, we even think of our own our own education. And then sometimes we say to ourselves, why did I even bother learning that? What was the point? So we are trying to move to a point where even when they're learning information, which in a few years' time might be different, as part of learning that information, they are learning skills to be able to think, to be able to apply things. And that's what we want to aim for. So the key principles and the key objectives of CBC are being learner-centered. So what does that mean? And that really means we need to think more of the learner. So we are moving our learners beyond just memorizing, but to actively be involved in their own learning, which is actually teaching them to be responsible and accountable for their own learning. We are teaching them critical thinking. Okay, we hear this word all the time because it's so important for anyone, but especially for the world our learners are going into. When we hear this word critical thinking, does anyone have a definition, an explanation? What is critical thinking? Any takers? What is critical thinking? Maybe in the chat, people can type what critical thinking is. Thank you. So everyone's mics are enabled, so you can unmute when you hear critical thinking. So even if your definition isn't perfect, we're just here to share ideas. What is critical thinking? How would we define critical thinking? Any takers? If not, absolutely fine. So, critical thinking, it's something that we keep hearing, a lot about now as educators. But when we think of critical thinking, it's can the learner analyze, synthesize, evaluate, problem solve, all these big words, but it just means when faced, especially with an unknown situation, if someone can think critically, they can tap into the knowledge they have and be able to adapt it to a completely new situation. And doesn't that sound like exactly what learners need to have to face this unknown world, of AI and, tech and whatnot? So the curriculum really focuses on nurturing critical thinking, and it's giving the learner skills to analyze, evaluate information effectively. And this is one of the big parts that I love about, this move to CBC and the thinking behind the Zambian education curriculum framework is we now want to really, develop our students a holistic approach. We are developing citizens. We are developing the future leaders. So it's a really holistic development which prepares the students, the learners for real life, whatever challenges come their way, and it gives them relevant life skills. Okay, so as we can see, there's, everything we've read just says the move to CBC is amazing. It is great, it is important, and we get to have a role in it. So the teacher, what is the teacher's role? So teachers, let's even think about critical thinking. How are you encouraging critical thinking? How are you developing your students? Are you focusing on the learner? And sometimes as teachers, when we're given all these things to do, I really do empathize and I relate. it seems like we always have more and more things to do, as if teaching our curriculum and management and discipline isn't enough. But I believe as teachers, we are superhumans, and there are ways. And today we want to give you the ways to do all of that. So, critical thinking, can anyone give an example of how you are encouraging critical thinking? Critical thinking. How you or how one might in lessons? Thank you, Mutinta. You can unmute your mic.
Okay, we can encourage students to question assumptions and challenge ideas, and also provide real-world problems for them to solve, which makes learning relevant and engaging. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, no, that is such a wonderful answer. Not more can be added. Anyone else? I've seen some answers by Gasper. Critical thinking is analyzing information, you can encourage learners to share their own thinking. Woo, Lisa, I love that answer. And some teachers must be thinking, encourage students to share their thinking. Is that a good idea? So Lisa, can you add anything to that? Your point?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yes, so I think one of the things that encourages critical thinking is when students share how they how they found their answer. And that can be used as a way to mold thinking. So sometimes you're able to tell if your students are critical thinkers just by the way they answer and share their answers. So usually when we ask them to share their thinking, you can actually see the depth of their critical thinking. And if we see that it's not as deep, we can teach them how to do that by molding how critical thinking happens, and usually asking open-ended questions. Oh, how can we find another way of doing this, or what other perspectives can we have with regards the topic in question? So I think just encouraging the students to share their thinking, also encouraging debates and discussions. That's where you get to really know how deep your students know a topic. And of course, if they don't, you can ask open-ended questions and just mold how they can build on their thinking. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I'm saying excellent, but that is, yeah, it's an excellent answer. So thank you. And thank you for all those who are sharing in the chat, all those who still want to gain ideas on anything we're talking about. If you just keep glancing at the chat, you'll be able to see so many great answers, like debates. And, there's a point on debating, on applicational questions, world situations, research projects. All of this are things that no matter your resources, no matter the number of kids, these are ways you'll be able to apply all of this. So that's a big message, which is you can do this. And together we can come up with so many ideas by the end of this. So as the teacher, your role is really to ensure that you are a facilitator of learning. So what this means is you are guiding the learning, you're directing the learning, and you are aware that the learners also have information they can share and give. You are going to assess their competency. We speak about formative assessment in a lesson. We speak about continuous assessment, which is you are going to continuously be checking on their skills. You'll give support for individual learning, and you'll also be quite adaptable, and committed. So as teachers, we know this. Things are always changing, but we are really up to the task to keep adapting and changing. So what you need to integrate, and that is what we saw with all the answers we got on critical thinking, which is you're finding ways. So you aren't like teaching a new subject. You aren't changing everything you're doing. You are teaching, you are having good results. But what you're going to do is just be more cognizant of, or more aware of, the things you need to also be doing. It sounds much harder than it is, but as we share more examples, as we go through the notes, you'll realize you really can do it. So the 4 C's These are some of the major skills that the learners need to have. The first skill being critical thinking, which we spoke about, communication, collaboration, creativity, and innovation. So, we think of what we said, which is we're developing a whole learner. That when a Zambian learner gets onto the world stage, the moment they start speaking, the moment they're interacting, everyone says, that's a Zambian student. No doubt. Because it's possible when we start to apply all these different things. So can the learners work together? How are they communicating? And this is something the world needs more of: creativity and innovation. And this is the problem with memorizing. You're just taught, remember this, full stop. But when you teach them how and the why, when they're faced with a solution or a problem, they can then say, last time we did this, and then they can adapt. Other key competencies, which we need to also teach our learners, the one that's missing on the screen for some reason is problem solving. But our other key competencies, and these are what our curriculum framework is trying to ensure that as teachers we don't forget. So we looked at those four: problem solving being another one, analytical thinking, digital literacy, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, citizenship, emotional intelligence, environmental sustainability. So whatever the curriculum content, you are still going to be integrating, giving examples that help the learners to achieve these things. So all of these competencies should be evidenced in all the different subjects. Especially the 4 C's, if possible, in every single lesson, or at least the majority of these in our lesson. So it's about thinking of your examples. For example, financial literacy. If you had some kind of a system where you make little little pieces of printed out like money for the learners, and then it's kind of like a motivation for good behavior, or there's criteria the students must meet, and anytime they do work well, they get a little token, which is money. And then maybe by the end of the week, they can choose to cash in they can choose to save the money for later, or they can choose to spend the money. Then you're taking about now you're teaching about spending and saving, and then maybe you can then maybe teach them about wants and needs. What's a want? What's a need? And these things can be done as part of the classroom motivation, the classroom management, or they can be done as part of a topic where you maybe say, why do you think that that place is like this? Is it because maybe the resources aren't being used well? So it's integrating all these key competences, which is so it's I absolutely just as I went through the Zambian curriculum framework, I was just like, wow, this is so impressive. This is amazing. A whole nation of all the kids just being taught, all these wonderful things, and if us as the teachers are successful in seeing these things through, like in 5 years, in 10 years time, what is Zambia going to be like? All thanks to this new approach to teaching. Okay, next thing is we've got these competencies, which we've just looked at. These being the 4 C's: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity. And then we also have the other key competencies, which we spoke about. And then, as you know, we also then have these cross-cutting themes. So no, once again, these are not different subjects, but these are the examples, the conversations, the questioning. So I just really appreciated all those examples that spoke about open-ended questions. And now your open-ended question can now link with a theme. How is this affecting corruption? Does this problem only affect women? Why? What about our national values? So, for example, with national values and our principles, it's integrating that pride of the national, of the different cultures, of the ways that Zambians do things. Imagine a generation that is proud of their culture, that is proud of their country. Anywhere they go, they're proud to be Zambian. And all of that is this continuously, assisting them with understanding all these things. So our cross-cutting themes are, and they must be woven through all subjects: life skills and health education. Number 2, gender. Number 3, governance. corruption, human rights and freedom, national values and principles, entrepreneurship education, HIV and AIDS, environmental health and population management, climate change and education, health and nutrition, drug and substance abuse. So worldwide, this is a crisis. And as teachers, do we ever discuss or make room for the things which our students are battling, our nation is battling? Is there a way that we can talk about this in maths? Is there a way we can talk about this in, in science, mental health, social and emotional learning, financial education, special and inclusive education, education for sustainable development, and then digital literacy? So it's not new work, new subjects. It's just find ways to integrate all of this. So what's going to be exciting is throughout the Cambridge Prosper series, all of these are integrated into that. So someone, wonderful at Cambridge has done all the thinking for you. So, that's one of the challenges people will say, which is, there's so much to remember, there's so much to do. But with the Prosper series, it will support you by already throughout the resources. All these themes, all these competencies are throughout all the lessons. So how wonderful is that? So now we must think, how do we integrate all these themes? So through the content, through activities, through discussions, through values. Now, this list isn't exhaustive, but even amongst ourselves, how something we can really you ask colleagues, you go watch colleagues, how are people doing this? So when we speak about these cross-cutting themes, I'll just have the second slide. Can anyone maybe tell us how they have managed to integrate any of these into any lessons? How are you managing? What have you done? So maybe just one person giving us feedback. How are you integrating these cross-cutting themes into your lessons? As we wait for someone to put their hand up, so many wonderful comments, talking about critical thinking, encouraging questions, open-ended questions, think they share, fantastic. But back to my question for now, how are you integrating these themes? Can we have one person, one brave teacher out there? Thank you, Edward. So we'll have Edward and Rasford. So we'll hear those two first. And then Mutinta, if you can just be a quick thank you. So those three. Thank you. So Edward, please go. Please unmute your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I want to look at mental health and how it is being integrated in a cross-cutting theme. When there's a topic in science where we teach children about teen pregnancies, and so when you teach that, then it's cross-cutting in the sense that it will talk about the mental health of the kids, on how it affects them. Suppose they involve themselves in such illicit behavior. So that is integrated as a health component, which is cross-cutting. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. What a great example. Next person, Rasford, please may go ahead.
Are you able to get me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Are you able to get me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead. You can share your point.
Hello, are you able to get me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So actually, it has been an eye opener. Actually, I was doing something that I didn't realize that actually it's something that I'm implementing that is towards CBC, and it's one of the cross-cutting issues. So I recently, before we closed, um, we did undertake a topic. By the way, I teach ICT, that is my subject. So there was a topic that we are learning about with my learners. The topic is printing. So you would think about printing. How can printing, something which is related to ICT, how can it be something that can come in as a cross-cutting issue? So the topic printing was I facilitated and gave learners a challenge to look at the effects of printing on the environment. So actually, one of the cross-cutting issues that were attached to that topic, through the learners researching what effects printing has on the environment, what good practices we should be doing when we are preparing documents on our computers, and if we keep on printing without thinking about the environment, is something that comes in as a cross-cutting issue. So if you look at the cross-cutting issue, environmental health and pollution, you would see that through the research, learners were able to see to find out that actually bad disposal of printing materials can affect the environment. It can pollute the air, and it can also pollute the water. And the other thing is climate change as well. So by learners researching, finding out on why it is good to edit your document before you print, they actually found out that when we keep on printing documents without editing, actually we are wasting paper. And where does the paper come from? The paper comes from the environment. We end up cutting more trees. So if we practice good printing behaviors, will actually save the environment. So actually, it is something that was an eye opener, and it is attached to the two cross-cutting issues. So it's something that has come as experience. Thank you so
thank
much.
you. No, thank you. You guys are making this sound so easy. Wow. This is fantastic examples. Mutinta, if you don't mind, you can now go ahead.
All right. So recently, we were learning about entrepreneurship. So learners got to bring in different things that they could sell in school to their friends, of course. And in as much as we were teaching the importance of entrepreneurship, learners also got to learn the importance of earning money, and also not just earning, but also saving that money. So I think with financial education, the learners got to learn quite a lot. Thank you.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And there's one more, and the last person. Harriet, is your hand still up? Oh, Harriet, do you still want to contribute? Oh, there seems to be an issue with you unmuting. It's unmuting and muting all the time. Harriet? Well, thank you for your willingness to contribute, Harriet. Hopefully, next round of questions, you can say something. I think your mic was just going on and off, so we couldn't hear you. In the comment section, Gloria was speaking about integrating financial education into grade 4 social studies topic on learning about money. This allowed the learners to understand the importance of saving and being responsible with how they spend their money. And it linked to a discussion on mental health. Wow, they seem like completely different topics, but there are ways to link these things. And because poor money management can lead to stress and difficult emotions. So that's how Gloria was able to connect. Thank you. So once again, in our comment section, there are some fantastic ideas that I really want to encourage you to keep glancing to. And then just to say that as you are seeing, I'm hoping many of you are breathing a sigh of relief, because without fail, I am confident that you are contributing, that you are doing these things already. Because as teachers, you help the students with all kinds of things. So Don't be overwhelmed. You are already doing this in ways you don't even know. So as we speak about CBC, it sometimes sounds like it's something new, but trust me, you are already doing a lot of this. So we spoke about how to integrate these themes. And then the last, or just to finish off this first segment, is we're now speaking of the teaching competencies. So we have all these different sections that, that your understanding of everything we're talking about in our sections will just give you the confidence to, to do that which we want to see the teachers doing. So I was just so impressed that I could have deleted the slide because when I was asking about critical thinking, when I was asking about how do you get your students to be involved, all these answers were shared. So another reminder that you are already doing these things. You are equipped to do these things. So think, pair, share. That was the activity I demonstrated on the screen. It said, you pose a question to your learners. You ask them to think because we want to develop independent thinking. Then they can share that collaboration, that working together, that listening and respecting another person's opinion, using someone's ideas to adjust yours. Then you have the different groups sharing, then the different groups are contributing. So we're starting to ask learners, why do you think that? How did you come up with that? This other student thinks differently to you. Why do you think they have a different answer? Can we blend the two answers? Now, and I always, like these days, I think of the importance of collaboration. When we think about the space we're in globally, where the political discourse has become so toxic, has become so dangerous, has become so dehumanizing and degrading. When we teach our learners to collaborate, to communicate with respect, to think critically about what people are saying, to be creative in their solutions. Honestly, we are miracle workers, I tell you. We are miracle workers. So it is such a privilege that if you actually start to apply these things we are talking about, you are, doing, an amazing job. So these are the strategies that you are going to be able to use in your classroom. So think, pair, share, group work. So how many of you currently use group work? Group work. Can we put thumbs up? Do we have the reactions? You can react. How many of you currently use group work? Fantastic. So many people are using group work. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Great. Group work, group work. Teachers love it or teachers hate it. 4 valid reasons. Controlling a group of children in some classes, is just a headache for teachers. But there are strategies. You learn what your learners are like. You learn who to split up, who to separate. You learn all these exciting things. Joyce uses group work as well. So a small group, maybe 5 or so kids, you're planning how to, the classroom management of how to split them up so they aren't shouting. Maybe do you go outside? Is there space in your, classroom? But group work is important because they have to learn to work with other people. They have to learn to share ideas. So as frustrating as it is, I want to encourage you that research has shown there's so many benefits to group work, but it takes time with some classes. Some classes are just a lot of work, but I want to encourage you, especially with maybe the classes that are more in control, start doing group work because collaboration is a skill some people never get taught. And then when they go into the real world, it's a problem. They don't know how to work with others. Problem solving, and then asking open-ended questions. So an idea of an example of an open-ended question versus a closed-ended question. So when you ask something like, is water important? The answer to that is yes or no. The problem with a yes or no answer is that some learners can guess. If it's their lucky day, they'll just say yes and get it right. So as far as you have done in your formative assessment, they understand. But they guessed. They don't understand. But when you use your open-ended questions like, why is water important? Now the learner has to think. And through that open-ended question where they have to explain and give details, then you see their understanding, and then they can't just guess. So just really think, so there's a place for your those closed-ended questions, your yes or no questions. So no doubt, throughout the lesson, things need to move quickly. You have your yes or no questions. But when you really want to check understanding, when you want to develop critical thinking, ask them, why do you say that? Does that work? So really exploring questioning is always a valuable activity. So everything we've spoken about can be done. You are doing these things, but now you're going to really be cognizant of the importance, because yours is a calling higher than others. You are helping to shape individuals, shaping the nation. And when you integrate all these things, you'll be able to do that. So we have now spent an hour. Well done to you, busy teachers, tired teachers. Well done. We've had an hour, so a reason to celebrate. So I'm just going to give you five whole minutes to just stand up, to stretch, to just make sure we are refreshed and able to carry on. So at 5 minutes past the hour, so in my time, it's 11 a.m. So at 11:05, so in 5 minutes, I'm going to carry on. But I encourage you, please stretch, please stand. And then if any of you have questions in this 5 minutes break, please be typing your questions. So 5 minutes, stand, stretch, and then in 4 minutes time, we'll carry on. So let us carry on. I hope you manage to stand and stretch, maybe drink something. You know, and we speak about cognitive overload, where after a certain amount of time, there's only so much information your mind can take. So taking breaks, especially with primary school, you know, sometimes you make them stretch, you make them dance, you make them sing. It really does help with them processing information. So there are some questions and some, once again, many great ideas in the chat. Thank you so much for generously sharing your wonderful ideas with all the teachers here. There was one example from Yvonne about social and emotional learning. Learners can read text and explore emotions and relationship. Thereafter, ask learners questions that spark empathy. So anything you read, you can really talk about the emotions. So as we rejoin, please may we make sure our microphones are muted. I think there's a bit of feedback. I'll try to mute it, but please make sure the microphones are muted. Thank you. And then some of the questions. So one of the questions from Gift is about, Gift said in Zambia, I feel the issue has been teachers still want teachers' handbooks and pupil books with all information. The research I have carried indicates most teachers need teachers' handbooks and pupils' book as a resource. So great question, which it's, as a teacher, you, in the ideal world there, you want to have everything. And, we encourage you to speak to your schools, give them the argument of why you need to have the teacher's guides, the learner's book, and the learner's workbook. It's that's how the Cambridge resources work. When you know how to use them, it makes your life easier. It really maximizes the learning that takes place. So yeah, we hope that our schools can really support us. Sometimes we then have to go and make our own arrangement, but we do need the resources. And I think, as Zambia is transitioning, I'm hoping that the schools and the leaders are going to realize the importance, of having good resources. So I think it's an ongoing conversation that schools are going to need to have. The presentation will be shared. I'm reading more questions. I've seen 3 hands. An example of examples of questions. So fantastic. So we'll just spend maybe just the next 3 minutes. There might be a few questions because we don't want to leave anyone behind. So the first question, is it Lani or Luni? My apologies if I don't say it right. Your hand went up. Is that a question? We also have Elinette. Is that a question? And Joyce, is that a question? Okay, so no questions. If there are no questions. Okay, thank you. So let us carry on. So please keep adding your questions. And then, as you read the questions, maybe you have the answers. Maybe at your school, you do something that has really given results. Because, the answers we need are in this, in this workshop. So I really encourage you, if you read any of the questions, maybe you can have some insight to share. We want to keep our interaction positive and encouraging and solution-oriented if possible, because we want people to leave here with solutions. So I want to encourage that. Gift, was that a hand? Was that a question?
Oh, you hand. Yes, it was a hand.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I would want just to find out how the slides will be shared. Is through the email or?
Yes, I'm sure you will
Hello.
receive, yes, yes. In terms of how the information will
Hello.
be shared, Ingrid
Hello,
is going to Ingrid is going to communicate all that information to you. So the slides will be shared. Okay, so let us carry on. So please make sure your microphones are muted. So the next big thing is, we are teaching with some end goals in mind. And part of that is, how do we know we're doing what we're supposed to be doing? How do we do what we're supposed to be doing? And a big part of that is this idea. Gift, if you don't mind putting your microphone on mute. Thank you. So in the next section, we're talking about assessment. We spoke about the competencies, and we spoke about how we want to be able to check. We really speak about how assessment plays two parts, which is it informs your teaching, it informs your next step as the teacher. So the information I've communicated, how deep I've gone into the material, have the kids understood, or should I change my approach? So our assessment is imperative, is crucial for the teacher to know where the students are, where do they need to go. So when we're speaking of CBC, the competency-based curriculum, here are some of the ways that you can be assessing the learners. So our assessment is moving from just one exam where they can pass from memorizing, but we're wanting to get, because we're speaking about skills. Will 10 questions show you the skills? Possibly. But are there other ways of testing that can definitely show you the skills? So we want our learners to be more than able to just answer an exam paper. They must be able to, if in an interview for a company and they're speaking about the thing you've taught them, to be able to articulate their ideas, to be able to answer questions. And part of developing this holistic approach is you can actually watch learners. So if you are maybe teaching, once again, we spoke about, I guess, money. We've had a few examples on money and wants and needs and saving and making informed decisions and how you earn money. In your activities, where you're allowing the learners to do whatever they need to do, you can have your checklist that says, does this learner think of saving at all? Does this learner spend all their money in one go? Does the learner, so checklists. So all of these, we are presenting ideas, which now this is your springboard to do further research, to ask others, how are they doing it? But what is fantastic about the Prosper resources is that all these ways of assessment are integrated into the resources. So we have the observation, we have oral questions. Once again, some kind of a discussion, a checklist, even if it means, you are sitting on a chair, the kids are doing work, and then they come to you to answer, 5 questions on, whatever it is you've taught. And then you're marking those 5 questions and their responses. Or they have practical tasks, they have projects like people I know mentioned. So any practical skills which they can demonstrate is a part of it. So we need to really, everything we are doing must be in line with what is expected in the curriculum framework. So we are trying to integrate this new way with our, what we must be doing, as teachers. So we cannot then neglect this conversation on school-based assessment. So as you would know, there's this, for primary grades 4 to 6, you have the school-based assessment. Which is 30% of the grade 6 examination is going to be for grade 4, is 10% of their grade, of their mark there, and then grade 5, 10%, grade 6, 10%, which makes up this 30% for their examination. So your schools will come up with your strategies, with your policies to help you to ensure that you are able to meet these requirements, to make sure that by the time the learners are moving to their grades, that you are able to pass on good marks. Marks that are a true reflection of their ability, marks which can help maybe whoever's teaching them next year make decisions about where a student needs help. So what this means we spoke about this continuous assessment. So it means you are assessing all subjects throughout the year using a variety of methods. And then schools need to prepare their school-based assessments. So can we have some examples from any of you about some of the ways you are assessing learners, which are different from the usual, just giving them a test? So is it in a particular subject? How are you assessing learners, which is different from the usual? Here's a paper answer. So maybe can I have just two kind teachers to share their information with us? How do you assess teachers beyond just a test? I'm seeing two hands. I'll just check. So is it Luni and Joyce? If your hands are up, you can go first, Luni. I see a hand up. So maybe let's move on to Joyce. Joyce, are you able to share? How are you assessing learners? Okay, I'll move on to Mr. Chalwe. Just put your hand up. How are you assessing learners?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Well, thank you. Thank you for contributing.
All right. Okay. So there are several ways of assessing learners. One of them is giving them assignments and also the homework policy, so that at least maybe if you give them on Monday, they get the question and they go and research more about it. They submit maybe after 2 days. The other way to assess our learners is also involving them in the project research. Yes, where they can be exposed to different information and the environment to come up with comprehensive information in that subject or on a topic, on a certain topic. In a classroom, you assess the learners maybe through group work. You know, when you're doing group work, you find that there will be that learner who will just be following the friends.
Yes.
Yes, so through doing the group work, you will find that almost everyone will be participating or will be able to contribute, but it's your role as a teacher to see who's not participating so that at least maybe you are the one who's going to say, I want that one to present and see how they are going to respond. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Those are, once again, just some fantastic ideas. And this is again group work. One effective strategy I've seen with group work is when you actually assign different roles in the group, and then sometimes as the teacher you can pick the roles, or maybe you make the learners pick from a hat. So maybe where one is the scribe, one will be the presenter. So you find a way to give different roles because you want everyone to participate. So as you're planning the roles, you can maybe give different activities. But fantastic. Another example of how it can be done, it is being done. There's so many ways to assess. There was another hand, I think, Lini, your hand went up again. Do you want to share?
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, there are so many ways of assessing the learners. Just to add on what my colleague said, we also have assessments for the primary schools for grade 1 up to 3, where we assess them during the week 5 and 10, then also end of term tests. So that's where we also conduct the assessments, and also we have projects. We can put the learners in groups, then we give them projects. We have the long-term projects and the short-term projects, whereby they research, then they are able to give us the maybe within 2 to 3 days. Then there are also long-term projects Like when they've closed, we've given them assignments that they will do during the holiday.
Fantastic. Thank you. Such great ideas. I'm I'm hoping those notebooks of yours are filling up. This is great information for free from all these wonderful teachers who are sharing. So thank you so much. And just looking at some of the comments, Lisa just mentioned how the teacher's actual creativity is a core ingredient to success in the competency-based curriculum. So we had phrased it as being, committed and being and adapting, be able to adapt. And there's so much information out there, whether it's YouTube, whether it's speaking to colleagues like we're doing here, whether it's observing other colleagues, but no matter where you are in terms of creativity, in terms of ideas, there are ways that we can all get better and how we can learn from one another. So yes, your creativity, whether it's on a scale of 1 to 10, even if it's a 1, every year, just add something new. Whether it's maybe you're adding your think, pair, share, then maybe you add your group work, maybe you add your open-ended questions, maybe you add a project. So do not be overwhelmed. It just takes time. And then Emily let us know that in language, Emily will assess through quizzes, debates, exhibitions, so it's interesting. So many of these things people are listing are actually fun. So as we actually are moving to the competency-based curriculum, our learners, the learning process, the classroom atmosphere is going to change because, wow, imagine a quiz, to learn something, or a debate. And with some of these assessment methods, what's so good about them is you're able to integrate collaboration, creativity, the critical thinking. You end up opening any, assessment to, learners are enjoying, they're engaged in the learning. It will be so memorable that in an exam, they'll think back to that moment. So be encouraged. There's just so much we can do. Another comment from Gilbert about an expressive arts, that they have a holiday projects. Joyce mentioned group work. Then I think it says TM1 says games and quizzes. Wow, people are having fun in some of these schools. So that's fantastic to hear that kids can have fun and learn. So when you see a teacher whose kids are making noise, maybe they're having fun. It's not all it's not all bad news. So tests, quizzes, accessing and observing. So be encouraged, add variety to your assessment. As we are learning about CBC, it's one step at a time. Every year you're going to get better. And then before you know it, this is the only way you actually know how to teach. So the next stop in our workshop is how does the Cambridge Prosper support you? So what I know is, as a teacher, you don't always have time to sit and just be creative and come up with creative ideas and come up with questions, for every single lesson. In the ideal world, we all want to be like that, but, it isn't always easy. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. That doesn't mean we should give up. It means we should start and then just keep at it, to just keep improving. So what Cambridge Prosper is bringing to the table is they have looked at the Zambian curriculum framework, and they have a good understanding of what is required, and they have created all these resources to support you. So as you can see, the challenge is going to be when you are still using the older resources, you must be the one who must now be the one to come up with active learning, the questioning, the themes, the this, the that. Nothing wrong with that. But as the busy teacher you are, consider going through, taking up this Prosper series, because I think, like, how amazing for a publisher to actually meet the Zambian needs for a change. So many times in our African context, we're just having to adapt them to make them relevant, to suit our learners. But sometimes the content is just not even remotely near. So this could be a really easier, quicker way for you to adapt from OBE to CBC. And you're going to, the process of that is going to be this, which is using these wonderful Cambridge Prosper resources. So let's have a look at them, just so you know what this means and looks like, so you can also be identifying them. So in this Prosper series for literacy and English language, we are starting with early childhood education. So I'm going to be showing you an example. For many people, when we think of early childhood education, if you think of when we went to school, we didn't really have, textbooks as we would call them. There were no resources. So it's quite an adjustment for many of us to really think so young. They've got, resources. It is intimidating, but, Cambridge has so much support to help you understand how to use the resources in an age appropriate way. So you can't be envisioning these resources to be like grade 7 textbooks or the high school textbooks you use. No. They've been adapted and are appropriate for the age group. They're fun, and like I mentioned, there'll be support from Cambridge on how to use them. But when you have these, it's a great starting point, and then you can always get the support. So in the Cambridge Prosper, there's a literacy for nursery, ECE, and lower primary. You have for literacy and English language, there's that resource, and then you also have for 3 to 4, and then 4 to 5. And then it then moves on to the lower primary for grade 1. And then, I think this, once again, is a resource targeted for the age group with all the things we've just spoken about. So we are removing a lot of the thinking, and we are going to have a look at an example of what these resources actually look like. Okay, then we will come back to more examples. Then we also have resources in this Cambridge, for Cambridge Prosper, where we have pre-maths and science. So lovely books, very, the covers, so these are the covers. And then we also have pre-maths and science. So this is what the ECE and lower primary look like for your maths and science. And then we have for creative and technology studies, we once again have for ECE and lower primary. And then we have the grade 1 and the grade 2. So this is what the resources look like. And then you have for the upper primary. These are, so you'll find for the majority of the subjects, that these are the subjects that you will be able to get your Cambridge Prosper resources. So you have the literacy and English language, maths, technology studies, science, home economics and hospitality, expressive arts, social studies. So these are, so you have for all the different grades. For with the first roll out of the launch, these are for grade 4. These are the resources that are there. And in time, as the curriculum is being, as it's rolling out more, there'll be more and more resources for each of the different grades. So this is what the resources look like, which we will, like I said, have a look at. So, the question that the motivation for really investigating these resources and not just thinking, oh, another resource from whoever, is the Cambridge Prosper supports CBC. So that in itself, the work has been done for you. So they are designed to support, this new, competency-based curriculum. And they are aligned to the 2023 Zambian CBC framework. So another problem solved. The activities are designed to develop the 4 Cs. So I'm going to ask you, can you still remember what the 4 Cs are? So this is like in every lesson we try to have the 4 Cs. So can a few people, or whoever can remember, when we say 4 Cs, I'm stressing 4 Cs because every lesson, if you can, must have your 4 Cs. What are the 4 Cs? Can we remember? 4 Cs. So we can just type in the chat. So 4 C's. So 4 C's is speaking to, as you are planning your lesson, you are going to make sure that you include critical thinking. I've seen Chilo and Rasford quickest on the keyboard. Thank you. So we've had critical thinking, communication. Okay, so we've got 2 more, which are yet to be mentioned. So creativity and innovation and collaboration. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Miriam and Angela and Emily. Okay, so our 4 C's. So it's imperative to understand those 4 C's so you are intentionally planning them. So the way the resource is designed is the activities are developing the 4 C's, as well as, you know, all the other competencies as well. And this is one of, for me, it's one of the best things is the cross-cutting themes are integrated. So you are given ideas on how to ask all these questions, and then you have your clear teacher's guide to support you. So this teacher's guide, I think, you know, sometimes people have given feedback that, you know, the Cambridge resources, they aren't as helpful, or the kids get through them quickly. But in most of these conversations, we realize people don't have what you're supposed to have. So if you have your teacher's guide and your learner's book, you know, that is really going to equip you. So, you know, when we say teacher's guide, you know, what is it? So your teacher's guide, actually, you know, it's like your personal assistant who is giving you ideas on what to teach, how to teach it, and then it'll give you any possible answers that the learners might have. Then it will tell you what conversations to have with the students. Then it tells you how to develop a topic, how to maybe group the learners. So, you know, for a teacher, this is one of the most important resources for you to have. This is, you know, all the thinking, all the, you know, activities, exercises. So, you know, I really would encourage you to just get your hands on, you know, a teacher's guide, and then the, you know, the learner's book. The learners will really be able to work through the program. So, you know, I encourage you to speak to your schools, you know, if they are demanding, you know, the CBC, you know, we hope that they can support you. And it's a conversation worth having, because here you go, you've got, you know, this resource that is going to help you. So Prosper is going to help you to deliver your CBC for primary. So it's such a good foundation. So especially now, you know, it's just really be, you know, as you plan next year, really start having that conversation for next year for you to have these resources. So what are some of the key takeaways? Okay, so what are some of the key takeaways? So before I give you my answers on what the key takeaways are, let's just have some feedback from you. What are some of the key takeaways from the conversation we've been having over the next for an hour and a bit? So this is a 2-hour workshop, so we're almost towards the end. So what are some of the takeaways? What thoughts have come to mind? What challenges have come to mind? I would love for some of you, because I'm sure some of you have been thinking about all of this. What feedback, you know, what are some of the things that some of the takeaways? Okay, so I'm seeing some hands. Joyce, your hand is up. Mr. Chalwe, your hand is up. Gift, and then Chilo, your hand is up. So we'll go in that order. So what are some of your takeaways from the conversation we've had? We'll start with those 4. So Joyce, would you like to contribute? Okay, Joyce, we'll have to come back to you. We cannot hear you. Mr. Chalwe, would you like to contribute?
No, sorry, I just forgot to remove the
Put your
raised
hand up.
hand. Yes, sure.
Absolutely fine. Thank you. Gift, was your hand up?
Yeah, my takeaway from this presentation actually is that as we transition from outcome-based to CBC, the definition is on a teacher that the teacher should have acceptance, embrace the curriculum changes, and should adapt to them. And overall, this teacher should also be creative and outgoing, because for you to actually have the materials, you need to be very resourceful and creative. You need to be someone who is actually outgoing, and you need to actually come out of the cocoon and be outside and search for the proper implementation and actually for the proper transitioning of from outcome based to CBC. Thank you.
Thank you. And you know what, to keep encouraging you, there's no need to be overwhelmed. You don't have to change your personality, or your character. It's you'll find your way to apply all these things we've spoken about. But the Prosper series has already found a way for you. But I think we can all appreciate the benefits, the necessity for moving from OBE to CBC. So, let's just keep being encouraged. Okay, then there was the next person, Chilo, I think. Please, you put your hand up. Would you like to contribute? Your takeaways?
I followed
Hello.
you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I think one of the things I picked is, for a teacher, your job is to model learning, then allow learners do. It's just that I think is enough for me to mention. But I've learned quite a lot.
No, fantastic. And you'll find a lot of people will start to use this word facilitator. So teachers are now facilitators. And I think that captures the essence of a lot of what we are now doing, that you are trusting the student enough to come along the learning journey. And then you are using your questions, the activities to guide them to the outcomes we're trying to achieve. You are integrating concepts, so you're facilitating them discovering things. So a fantastic takeaway. We'll have just one more because we still have just a few more things to get through. Was there, I saw Esau, your hand was once up. Is it now down? Okay, thank you. So another comment says, learners may be the ones to do the activities and teachers to facilitate. A teacher must be resourceful. And, so it really is, with some of our challenges, of infrastructure, our challenges of resources. I think the examples that we have mentioned today, most of them don't even require a cent. It's the teaching approach that's going to get you where we want to get. It's the questioning, it's the conversation. So once again, to encourage you to not be overwhelmed, that, as colleagues, we can keep sharing that people who maybe are in a space where there aren't many resources, what are they doing? There are always ways around it. And that's that being adaptive, and being committed to it. With Cambridge, there are just so many resources and so much support. If you do feel like, because we mentioned some things which you might feel like, what are they talking about? What's this? But they, just reach out. There'll be so much support in terms of, how to work through these resources. And they're even online resources like with Cambridge Go, a site that some of you might be familiar with, where you are able to sign up and have a trial to see if you can access the resources virtually, if you're not able to, physically get a copy, to see what that's all about. But it's really wonderful how Cambridge really tries to make sure that teachers are supported. So even if your school isn't really supporting you, there could be ways for you to be supported. I saw a hand by Rasford. Is that a hand?
Yeah, I've got something to contribute.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
All right. I really appreciate today's webinar, and
Thank you.
my biggest takeaway, I think, is the cross-cutting themes that you highlighted just earlier. I think moving forward, I'll try to, by all means, to incorporate all the, at least not all of them, but some of the cross-cutting issues. I think it's one thing that is important for us as teachers, despite any subject that you teach, whether it is mathematics, whether it's English, whether it's ICT, whether it's science. I believe one of the most important aspects of this curriculum is to try and incorporate all those themes into our lessons. So that was my biggest takeaway from this. And also, another one is, although on the negative side, the issue of resources is a big challenge. Whether it's a private school, whether it's a government school, it's a big challenge. But I would just encourage fellow educators to make use of the internet, AI. I believe this curriculum is a very open curriculum, which has got many resources. So as we are waiting for school administrators to give us what we need, I think this curriculum is a very rich curriculum that has got content all over. So let's make use of AI and internet resources as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Those were, some important takeaways for all of us and good reminders for all of us, especially now we know the reason for this. And now we know where to get the support, even collaborating amongst each other. As I went through the chat and just the ideas and the conversations there, it's so rich, and we must never underestimate teachers meeting and discussing. So some of the key takeaways, CBC focuses on what learners can do. And we've really tried to, I've really tried to motivate why this is now important for the world we are in and the world we are going into, which is very much unknown. Being able to just say facts, you and someone with an AI tool, you're now on the same page, but obviously there's the discipline of learning and memorizing. So we aren't, we aren't shooting all of that down, but we're saying we need more. We need more. The 4 C's, which fantastic. Everyone was able to mention the critical thinking, the communication, the collaboration, the creativity are essential. Start somewhere. Start with what is critical thinking, which we explained, and then how do you integrate it? So this is just, this continuous learning that as teachers we need to do. So you will just, if some of these terms are completely unfamiliar, that's absolutely fine. It just means now you've got these things down and you can start your search, like we just learned. AI, internet, there's all sorts. Then there's the cross-cutting, the 18 cross-cutting themes. Integrate them naturally, conversations, the examples you use, even if it's math, that problem sum can be an example that they work out. And then once you're done working out, you then discuss in real life, what would you do? What would you change? So you're able to integrate it, like we were reminded. And then you are using active learning strategies, think, pair, share, and group work being a big part. And then you are wanting to make sure that with your active learning, remember I mentioned how it isn't just about doing. So some of us might feel our classrooms are small, we have too many kids. If I make them stand up and do things, we'll never get anything. So any kind of group work and in classroom movement means that your classroom management is going to be challenged, But the good thing is you don't have to do moving, standing, jumping every single lesson. You can pace yourself. But also active learning also means, like I mentioned, constructing information, taking them on a journey of discovering information. So in their minds, they are actively, oh, this links with that links with that. So even if no one in your class is standing up, you're questioning. One child says this, then you challenge them, then you ask them, then you ask another child to, is that correct? Is there more we could do? So by the time you are done, everyone now gets to the answer. So that can be active learning as well. Then really put thought into how are you going to assess, all these different things. So it's easy to fall back into our default setting. Sometimes a test is easier, where you've got your resources, give the kids a paper, they answer, you mark, life goes on. But let us take the opportunity to implement these things. Let us take the opportunity to really develop our learners in the way that we are supposed to. So really think of how to assess these competencies. Discuss with other teachers, brainstorm ideas. And then the last big thing that I can stress would be our Cambridge Prosper. Cambridge Prosper supports CBC delivery, with ready-made activities. Yeah, I think that for me is a dream. That for me is a dream. That the activities are there, the themes are there. So many things are done for you. So on a busy day, if you had to just open a page, you are confident that you have ticked all the boxes of what your lesson is supposed to be. Okay, so those are our key takeaways. So now I just want to show you an example of one of the resources. And as I share my example, I am just going to, if there are any questions while I open my example, you can be typing them into the chat. So any questions? And there are some wonderful takeaways, which are in the chat as well. Thank you for those takeaways. I will read them. So let me just give you an example of this resource that I have been raving about to tell you that, so you believe me. So you can see for yourself, so you can believe what I am saying. So let me just put, I hope it will show in a manner that, okay. Okay, so here is an example. So I'm hoping on your screens that you are able to, let me just fix the way it is showing up on the screen. Okay, so this is an example, and this is the Prosper, Cambridge Prosper Literacy and English Language. So for grade 1, this is the learner's book. So learner's book, that's the book the learners will be using. Your teacher's guide, that's, helps you with the preparation, helps you with understanding the content, helps you with your planning, helps you, with things like, how to differentiate, how to meet all the different needs. So, all the wonderful teaching things and the thinking behind how to have a successful lesson, it's all integrated there. So it's, it's the quality, the same quality that we know our Cambridge resources to be. So that's the example. So this is the page I wanted to show. Let's just make it bigger. So here is an example. So even from the beginning, they are going to be explaining how to use this book. So if we look at the right-hand side, it says, so this is unit 1 on greetings. Then it says theme-based units connect new vocabulary, reading and writing to familiar contexts. So they have the familiar context. Then here we go. So this is our Zambian curriculum, targets, which is competency-based activities will be there. So this is the value of this, that this is written for CBC. And then here it says color and engaging artwork that supports comprehension and sparks discussion. So, so if you don't have a projector in your class, you've got this learner's book. It has pictures. You can have discussions. And even if we look at the learners, these learners look like they're learners, our learners to identify with. It really demystifies learning. This is now practical, things that we can do. Then there'll also be revision reinforces key skills, helping the learners. So at the bottom here, revision reinforces key skills, helping learners remember what they have learned and giving them confidence to apply in new situations, which is one of the end goals for CBC, which is given new situations because they've been taught to think and consider and analyze using what you have taught them in your discussion. When faced with a new situation, they can apply it. So even from the onset, our resource is showing us that we are no longer just memorizing. We are no longer just stating facts. We are actively engaged. We are, discussing. We are doing activities. So I was not lying to you. Any of you who were doubting what I was saying, it's a fantastic resource that I want to once again encouraging you. Well, I want to encourage you that with every page, you really have things you can listen to, the speaking. So like it says, listen to the story. You know, this is catering for the different types of learners. Some learners learn better from listening. So there's a story you can listen to. Then there's the saying hello and goodbye. There's the pictures. Then you can have your discussions, integrate your themes. Something as something as simple but very important for grade ones: how to sit properly, how to hold your pencil, your conversations, your discussions. So with every page I could turn to, we would just be seeing everything that I am that we were talking about. So a lot of the thinking has been done for you. Then your teacher's guide will then give you extra information on what to do with all of these units, on the activities that you can do in these units. So they've stripped away the pressure of because some of us, in terms of being creative, it's not our main thing, and that's fine because we're all different. But this resource has done the heavy lifting for us. So I'll just flip through some more, but seeing the resource also emphasizes what I was saying, which is it's age appropriate. So as you're saying, we've been speaking about critical thinking and how, that sounds so abstract, so difficult. But in this resource, they have brought down the foundational concepts of critical thinking to an age appropriate level. But sometimes that's what scares us. We know these words from an adult understanding, but now resource is going to teach us how to teach these big words, these themes at an age appropriate level. And look at that flag on the screen at the top left-hand corner. Like how amazing is that? So I'm hoping, from sharing this, you're seeing what I'm seeing, which is if you can get your hands on this, it really will make your life so much easier. And yeah, so this is what I've been going on and on and on about. But it's, like I mentioned, it's so important that we remember, that we are more than just delivering content, but we are shaping lives. We are shaping our nation. Like that's it's a big thing to say, but it's true. It's true. And clearly the Zambian government recognizes that teachers, you play such a big role. So if you integrate, if you look at that curriculum framework, you're going to be able to do this. Do not get overwhelmed. There is support, the Cambridge Prosper being a big one, to support you. But just ease into it. You will find your footing. So before I end off, I will just give a few minutes. So we will be done at the top of the hour. So maybe in the next 2 minutes, are there any pressing questions? So like I mentioned before, the Cambridge team will be in touch with you concerning getting any resources. But if anyone has any encouragement, any last words, just because I realized we have so many brilliant teachers here. We had all the answers and gave us so much information. We can just end off with any comments and for the remaining 2 minutes. I saw a hand. Let me just see whose hand went up. Is it Gift? Is that a hand that went up?
Yes, madam. I would like to find out, you had mentioned that there is an online support page for Cambridge. I missed the name. That's the first clarification.
Yeah, Cambridge Go. Cambridge Go.
Cambridge Go?
Yes, Cambridge Go.
Do you need to sign up? Do you need to subscribe? Is it free?
You are able to get a free trial to see how Cambridge Go works. So just have a look at Cambridge Go, and then you'll be able to get the free trial and get more information on Cambridge Go.
Thank you. The second clarification is on those books. Are they already published? And if they are published, are they available on the market? And is it possible that a catalog is sent so that maybe people start accessing them?
So Cambridge Go, so just to answer your question, Cambridge Go is free. All you need to do is sign up and register as a teacher. So if you have a look in the chat section, we've actually put a link on Cambridge Go. So all of you, I'm sure it's a fantastic run to Cambridge Go. So there's a link there right in the chat. So please copy that link, and then it is free. You just have to sign up and register as a teacher. And then the books aren't yet available, so we're just waiting for CDC to evaluate and approve them. But we are trusting they'll be out there soon. And once they are out, there'll be lots of communication. You will not miss them. But it's good to start having that conversation with your schools that you now know about the solution to moving to CBC. You've now seen the resources, so we're just giving you support even before they're out. But there'll be more communication as they are finalizing everything.
Thank you so much, Madam. I would like to thank you for the initiative, and I would really say I've gained a lot. I'm a secondary school teacher serving in a rural part of Eastern Province, Chadiza, and I've learned a lot, and I would even share with my friends for the sake of progress and smooth transition into CBC.
Thank you so much. It was lovely having you and for the contributions. And there were just so many wonderful contributions. Okay, we have 1 more minute or so to go. Looney, there's a hand up. Looney, any contribution, your feedback?
Okay, thank you so much. Actually, the question I wanted to ask has already been asked by my colleague. I wanted to find out when the books will be on market and if CDC has approved them, because we had one of you who came to advertise and the teachers got interested, so they've been calling if they can make orders. So we just wanted clarity whether CDC has approved. So now you have answered. So I now have the answer to my teachers.
Oh, no, that is good that we managed to answer that. So that is all from me. So just to finish off, if you once again go into the chat, you'll be able to find out more about Cambridge Go. So you can watch a playlist on YouTube, which really gives you information. So once again, Cambridge has it all figured out. There's a video that will help you to really understand how Cambridge Go will work. So please have a look at the link that is in the chat, and you'll be able to get that information. And then to finish off, so this is your challenge, teachers. Let's implement CBC successfully. Let's work together because it's the nation that we're building. It's the learner that we're building. And I'd like you to really, go on Cambridge Go, really consider Prosper Series. It has done everything for you. I don't know what more I can say to convince you, but it's done everything for you. So thank you so much for your time. I'll just hand over to Ingrid if there's anything else that needs to be said, but I wish you all the best as you move to CBC. One thing at a time, you will get there, and it's worth whatever hoops you have to jump, it's worth it for the nation, for the learners we teach. So thank you for your time. Ingrid, is there anything else?
Tito, just thank you so much. What a wonderful, engaging presentation. I can see that everyone really enjoyed, they engaged, they asked questions, and also want to thank everyone who joined, who spoke up, who asked questions, for really making the session so exciting. I will stay in touch. We have your details from when you registered, and we will follow up with the presentation and further details that Tito has mentioned around ordering samples and Cambridge Go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Have a lovely day, everyone.
Thank you.